Daf Kuf Tet Vav, 19 lines from the top. Papa Amar. We're still talking about the mahloket between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan in the case where someone stole something and sold it, and the guy was found to be the thief was found. Who does the guy who now loses the item, the buyer, who does he go after, the thief or the owner? Papa Amar Papa says so. The mahloket between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Papa says in regarding to an item like a garment. They both Rav and Rabbi Yochanan would agree that it has to be going back to the owner. The only disagreement is whether or not there's a mahloket in regarding the marketplace takana. Right? There was a marketplace rule that was made that do you have it's like buyer protection. I bought it from the guy. I don't want any problems. I'm going after you. You want to deal with the thief, you deal with the thief. Insurance, like I don't want to deal with anything else. So the Gemara says, Rav Mishmid Rabbi Chia Amar, Rav says, the buyer goes after the thief and not the owner. He has to go after the thief and get the money from him. But he does not have the insurance. He has to go directly after the thief. He goes after the owner. He can recover his money from the thief or the owner because he has the insurance, which gives him the power to extract from whoever he wants. So, does Rav really not hold of the shuk, the insurance? Rav Huna was a student of Rav. And Hanan the bad guy, right? Well, Hanan the evil, Hanan the wicked. I don't know how you get a name like that. He stole an item and he sold it. After the command of Huna, they came in for Rav Huna. The owner came from Huna for a psak. Amar le'ahu gavra zil sharei avitach. Rav Huna told that guy, go and redeem it, meaning pay the buyer compensation for the item. So we see that there is no marketplace. There's no insurance, even if you found the thief. The Gemara says no. Shana Hanan Bisha is different because the thief was Hanan. They given the lekah because you can't get money from him. As if there's no thief recognized, and therefore you can only go after the owner. Maraba, for someone with a known thief that you bought off the item. You bought an item from someone who usually steals. You have no takana, you have no insurance because you shouldn't have bought it off him. When it says for some other 1 second, he was a known bad guy, and there was takana. When it says not hated for some it's true he was known to be a bad guy, like for somebody who's not known for stealing. Someone stole item and paid a debt with it. So a shirt, sold it for and paid his $100 debt with it. Or he paid for something he had credit with. There is no takana because because when he borrowed the item or when he took the item on credit earlier, you didn't have in mind for that item, right? So the insurance works if you took the item, you sold the item from now for the item that you receiving right now. However, this item that the guy is paying for credit or a loan that he already had was already out of the equation. You can't say, "Oh no, I meant it to be insured post." No, it's like buying insurance after you have a problem. Let's say the guy borrowed something and he gives a item to hold. I borrowed $200 and I give you I borrow $100 and I gave you a $200 item to hold. There is a insurance in that case. Because you gave that money with some expectation that the item will become yours. Let's say you gave the item that's worth the amount of money that you borrowed, $100 each. Says there's no insurance because usually you take an item as security that's worth more. Therefore, you just assume that take this item, I'll give it back to you because you gave the item the same price. You didn't get something more expensive, so therefore you assumed you'd be getting it back, but you did not mean for this to take its place. Marjuta says no, it works. It's not unusual to overpay. Sorry, it does work even though it's the same price. Let's say it is the same price. If you stole an item and you sold it and they paid an item for the exact same price, there is a value. The stolen item was worth $100, but you sold it for $200. There's no insurance on that because you overpaid so much. It looks like a gift. Rav says no. There is insurance because sometimes people overpay for what they want, and therefore there's still insurance. There's always the insurance. Lebar, except the cases of ganav upara b'chovo, paying the debt, ganav upara b'hekevoy, paying the credit. Abim bar nazeh hamua de Ravina have a masik bahu gavra arba azuza. Abim bar Nazi, the father of Ravina, was owed 4 zuz by a guy. Ganab glima accident halen. The guy stole a garment and he gave it to him. And it was via ganab achini. And then he lent him another 4 zuz. So basically, he got this item, but he didn't want to give him credit. So he owed him $4, 4 zuz. The guy wanted more credit. The guy he didn't want to give him, so he gave him this stolen cloak. So, but we didn't say whether or not he was paying back the first 4 zuz with this, or this is a security deposit. So Ravina, when they realized the item was stolen, the owner came for Ravina and he said, "What should we do?" Ravina said, regarding the first 4 zuz, it's like you stole it and paid the debt with the item. And halacha is you don't have to pay the lender anything. And the second 4 zuz, collect the 4 zuz from the owner and then return the item to him. One second, I'm going to ask the question. The first 4 zuz that he gave the cloak for, that's considered like a case where you stole and paid your debt or credit. The second set of 4 zuz that he lent wasn't a continuation or of any sort. It was a new loan. You said, "Oh, but the guy paid me back the first time. Here's a new loan." When it says, the halacha rolled to Riavav, and he said, that since you trusted him the first time without a pledge, it looks like without security, it looks like that's exactly what happened the second time after he received that cloak. Nasha'a ganav safra, a certain guy in Nasha'an stole a book. He sold it to a Pupanin guy for 80. Azal, the Pupanin guy, he sold it to the third guy for 120 zuz. Good profit. Then you realize that it was stolen, but the first guy stole it. Now, what do we do with all the sales in between? Abaye says, the owner of the book should go to the last guy, give him 80 zuz, let that guy go to the second guy and collect 40 zuz. The money that he lost, the difference. When it says, now, if you're going to make a takana, the insurance, in the case of a buyer from a thief, of course, it would also work for a secondary thief. Rather, the halacha is, the owner of the book should go to the mechoza'ah guy, which is the last guy, and give him 120 zuz and get your book back. And then the book owner should then go to the Pupuna guy, get 40 from him, and then take 80 from the second guy as well. All right, so pay it, front it the money, and then collect your money and your book. Okay. Case in Mishnah. The guy was carrying a barrel of wine. The second guy was coming with honey. This is the barrel of honey cracked and honey began to leak. And the second guy poured out his wine to save the honey with his barrel. He only gets paid for labor and not for your honey. But before pouring out the wine, he told him, I'll save your honey by condition that you pay me for my wine. Has to pay for the wine. Second case. A river took away his donkey and his friend's donkey. His donkey was worth $100, his friend's donkey was worth $200. He left his donkey to die, and he said this is his friend's donkey. And only gets paid for his work, but not for his donkey. But before he did it, he told the other owner, but if he told him before I let my donkey die, if I save your donkey, you'll pay me my $100, then he'll have to get reimbursed. We'll explain why we need both cases tomorrow. But in the meantime, the Gemara says, why is he maybe technically he should own the whole thing. He should own the honey because it was going to spill. And if you see something that's going to go to waste, you keep it. This guy who had jugs of oil, jugs of wine, and it was breaking and it was draining out. He shouldn't say this oil and wine should be tiruman maaser that I have in the house. This item should be tiruma, and the stuff I have in my house should be mutar. But if they say lomar klum, it doesn't count because since it's wasting, it's considered like hefker. And therefore, this guy also, if he's picking it up, he should be able to keep it, not have to get reimbursed for his stuff. He should be his proud owner of new honey. No, it's talking about a certain case where he had wrapped the netting around it. Let's say he used the cellophane around the barrel. So even though it was draining out, a little bit at a time, and it wasn't pouring out. So therefore, it's true you saved, but you didn't save the whole barrel. The whole barrel wasn't going to go to waste because it was wrapped up. But if he did, let's say the second part of the braita, if he did say that the teruma should go, it doesn't work. But this is elsewhere. Someone that had money in his hand, see a robber coming toward him. So he shouldn't say that the maaser shani that I have in my house should be on this money, right? He's allowed to sell his maaser shani, redeem his maaser shani money to bring Yerushalayim. Let's say he has money, he has $100 cash, he has fruits in his house, and then when he's walking in the street, he wants to see, you see the robber coming, so he say, you know what, the money that I have right here should be poded the maaser shani I have in my house. And he gets robbed, he's like, oh, I'm patur. He shouldn't do that. But if he does, it does work. So we see that money, that items that you're going to lose, you can be poded. In the case of the robber, it works because he's able to save it. Where I said, if he's able to save it, then why can't he do the chatkilah? Why is it only be the avid? Oh, if you did it, it works. Why not mutar all the time? Where it says no. It's not easy to save it. He's able to defend himself against the robber, but it's not easy. But does that mean that whenever there's a likely loss, you can't make it hekdesh? But the name of a different brayta. If a Levi had 10 barrels of tameh wine without maaser rishon separated from it, he saw them breaking, or was uncovered, which makes it asur to use. Omer, you should say, this barrel that's breaking or uncovered shall be the Trumat Maaser for the other 9, making the other 9 mutar based off this one. Right? So it works for the wine, but he shouldn't do it for oil because it's a big loss to the Kohen. So why can't the traveler with the money do the same thing? It's not oil. Let the money work on Maaser Shani. Where it says in Amar Birmiya, the case of the Trumat Maaser is referring to the net, therefore the wine won't drain out. The Gemara says that makes sense according to the case with the wine that is spilling out. That net makes sense. But we had a second scenario where it was uncovered. No net's helping that scenario. Where it says no, even if it's uncovered, you could use it for sprinkling, yani, to make your house smell good. But a different bracket that says uncovered water. He should not spill it out in public. You should not use it to knead clay with it. You should not use it to keep the dust down, right? Their houses used to be dusty, and the floor would be dust. So therefore, they would water the floor slightly to keep the dust from rising when you would walk. You should not give his animal to drink from it, and not give the drink to your animals, your friend's animal. So we see that not only you can't use covered items for drinking and stuff, but you can't use it for sprinkling either. So what would be the scenario of they're able to change the wine that's uncovered for what would be the scenario where you have the case of the wine? How could you change it for Trumat Maaser? No, the scenario is they're able to pass the wine through a strainer, making it mutar. The Tanya brother says, when you have an liquid in a strainer, there isn't any sewer for uncovered liquids, right? So there's a few parts to a strainer. There's a top which pours out, there's a bottom, and there's a filter in between to keep the sediments down. So when it says Imatai, when Amar Imatai, when is that true? That it's a sewer if it's uncovered. Bisman Sheha Tatuna Migula, when the bottom one is uncovered. But if the bottom is covered by the filter, even if the top is uncovered, it's not considered uncovered. Because the venom of the serpent, right? That's the whole point. Uncovered liquids can be touched by a snake. So if the snake did touch it, it'll stay like a sponge. If it's soft, it will float to the top and remain in a certain spot, so it won't go to the bottom. So therefore, the bottom half under the filter will be mutar. So we see the Braita allows the Levi to transfer the maaser money to the maaser uncovered wine, according to the Ibn Hamya, because the Ibn Hamya would allow it in the case of the bottom. So we're able, as long as you're able to make it usable and not completely asur, it'll be mutar. So how come? And therefore it's mutar over there. But regarding the wine, regarding the traveler, since it's going to get lost, you can't transfer it. Lav it's more lav. 1 second, the that says the only case applies is where you do not mix the wine after it's uncovered. But if you did mix the wine, it's asur because even if you pass it through the strainer, because when it's mixed, the venom changes consistency and it'll get mixed all around, and therefore you can't assume that it's not there. You could be mixed. So if that's the case, our case of Ibn Hamiyah doesn't apply. The heter of the strainer doesn't apply over here, and the wine should be asur. It's true that you're able to put a filtering cloth on top of the barrel and pour the wine out, and the venom won't mix. Does Rabbi Hamia allow to separate teruma from tameh on tameh? Right, that's a big question. If you have what we said, there was 9 barrels tameh with 10 barrels tameh, 1 barrel was leaking, and you're able to take out 1 from 10. The problem is, are you allowed to make something separate teruma from something that's tameh for other tameh items? So, the says, you may separate tameh. You have 10 tameh fruits. You want to separate 1 for the other 9. It works. And you can take out tahor stuff for tameh fruits to make tameh fruits mutar to eat. But you can't take out tameh stuff for tahor fruits. Rabbi Hanan says, you cannot allow to separate tameh for tameh unless it's dmai. Dmai is safek. You're not sure if it was taken out. So how can we see over here in the case of the wine? How can the Levi separate it? If it's tameh, the Gemara says, it's the case of demai. No problem. Answer is that these wines are demai. Safek was already taken out, and therefore you're allowed to do it. Amar more. But oil you can't do it because it's a big loss. So what's the difference between oil? The ra'ul lahadlik. You're allowed to use it for fire to light. So the Gemara says yayin is leaf. So you could use wine also to sprinkle around for a smell. If you want to tell me that no, sprinkling is not good enough, that's not a good enough usage, that's not expensive enough. Yeah, it's too big, it's not significant. Right? It's not like a backup option for wine. We drink wine that costs a sela per log. And we use even better wine, 2 sla'im per log, to use for sprinkling. So we see that sprinkling is actually not the backup plan. It's even more expensive. Sprinkling wine is more expensive. So if you're losing that wine, that's even a bigger loss than the oil. Where it says is referring to new wine. And since new wine doesn't have a good smell, you can't use for sprinkling. Therefore, it's the small loss. So okay, wait for the wine to get older, then you'll be able to sprinkle. Because you might drink it. If you leave it to age, you might use it. So oil also you can use by accident, but we see a lot of use oil. Keep the oil. No, you could put the oil in a disgusting item that you'll make sure not to use, but you use it for burning, which is allowed, but you won't come to use it for cooking. So put the wine also in a bad thing and use it for sprinkling afterward, and then it won't be and then you can age it. I said no. If you're using it for sprinkling to make the house smell good, then you can't use it in a bad in a disgusting vessel that would destroy the smell, and therefore in retrospect, basically, the Braita allows you to use a broken or uncovered barrel as Trumat Maaser 9-1, and it's talking about new wine, which doesn't have a big smell, and therefore it's a very small loss because you're only able to use it for sprinkling. But that doesn't work for oil because the oil is more expensive and you can only use it for burning pots, like whatever, as fuel, and that's a very big loss. Okay. But mahloket of whether or not a person is, if you leave something out, and you'll right, we said it before a moment ago, we're afraid that if you leave it out, you might come to use it by accident by eating instead of using it for burning, for example, and therefore we don't want a person to, we don't want it to happen, therefore we don't want you to leave it out and let the wine age, we said before. So the mahloket whether or not we're worried about that. Are we worried about a person, if he has something that is asur and we let him to use it via something else, are we worried that he'll accidentally use it for an asur way, like the tameh oil would he accidentally use in his food and that'll be asur? A barrel of truma wine that became tameh. Bet Shammai says, Kuftet Zayin, Tishabech HaKol, spill it out. We're scared you might use it. Use it for sprinkling. We're not worried you're going to drink it. Rabbi Ishmael, but Rabbi say, interesting. Ani achriya. I will show who is correct based off my. Right, I'm picking a side, and that will show how the scales are tipped into one favor. If the barrel of wine is in tameh in the house, you can use it for sprinkling. We're not worried about drinking. But if it's in the field, spill it out because we don't want you to drink it by accident. Only in the case of aged wine, you can use for sprinkling. In the case of new wine, you should spill it out. I told him that's not a good. This third way of explaining, you're not explaining the machloka between Bet Hillel and Bet Shammai. They gave a specific way, spilling it or not spilling it or sprinkling it out, and you just gave you didn't give an answer either way. You didn't agree with Bet Hillel, Bet Shammai. You gave third factors based off what type of wine it is or where the wine is, that it may or may not lead to takala, may not lead to usage. But you didn't teach any way according to Bet Shammai or Bet Hillel to teach whether or not you hold like any of them, and therefore you didn't tip the favor in anybody's direction. Mishnah said, before the guy poured out the wine, he told the honey owner, "I'll save your honey. You pay me the wine." He has to do it. Am I? How come the owner of the wine can't tell him? The owner of the honey could tell the owner of the wine, I never really meant you to pay for your wine. I thought you were joking. I was playing with you. You told me I'll do it if you feel. Yeah, sure, I'll pay you, no problem. It shows that. The guy was running away from prison. In front of him was a boat. He told the guy, take my dinar and take me across the river, which is an extraordinary amount of money. And no, has to pay the fee that he would normally charge a passenger, much less. You can see from there that if when he was offering him the exorbitant amount of money, he was joking. So it's over here that the owner of the wine tell the owner of the honey, I was joking with you. The owner of the honey tell the owner of the wine, I wasn't going to pay you for your wine. I'm going to pay you for your time. I was joking. Where I says our Mishnah is not comparable to that case, but rather the Sefer, the second part. The MMR law, because of these, the second part of the over there says, told dinar ze take this dinar as your fee and take me across the river. No, he has to pay the full dinar. What's the difference? Why? The second bright part of the Brata, where he has to pay the full dinar, is referring to where he's not only a ferry boat guy, but he also is a fisherman. And therefore, when he told him, you also made me lose my fish that I was gonna fish, and therefore he has to pay for both. So that case is more comparable to our Mishnah, because over there he suffered a loss. And over here as well, the guy suffered a loss of his wine, saving the honey, so therefore he's able to get full compensation for his wine.